So I'll just introduce you. This is Professor
Sure.
Mahbuba Nasreen, who's Pro-Vice Chancellor of Bangladeshi Open University. When I met her, she was founding director of the Institute for Disaster Management and Vulnerability. Had a very nice lunch, I remember, at University of Dhaka. So I'm really interested in this talk because it's from the perspective of disaster risk reduction. She's going to talk about building resilience, a gendered and intersectional discourse. Over to you, Mahbuba. I don't think we can see your screen yet.
Yes, I'm sharing. Is
Yep.
it okay now?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much. Yeah, just a little bit of understanding I need. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you all that you are listening to from Bangladesh. And all of you had very good presentation. I had been listening, and Shaila was before me. And just this was the title, but I am giving one overview before I'm going to that project, because intersectionality is a new project that we are running in Bangladesh in context of gender and other categories. So before I'm going to there, I'm just giving a little bit of introduction, like why should we, because COVID-19 has been the focus of many of your discussions, specifically why King's College arranging this, that disaster, pandemic, and gender, how they are interrelated, and what do we understand by intersectionality, because this is the concept that has been introduced in UK only, and also there are some other universities which are focusing on this intersectionality perspective. So now what I would like to say specifically, while we are talking from Bangladesh, you all know that Bangladesh is a very disaster-prone country, and disasters are now frequent phenomena since ages, in fact, because of the deltaic formation, because of the geographical location of the country, and there are so many other human-induced causes which brings suffering for millions of people. Climate change is adding a new dimension to it. So why Bangladesh? Because Bangladesh is facing disasters since ages, so they have some experiences, they had some coping mechanisms, then the people are adapting and they are becoming gradually resilient. So these lessons they have learned through their experiences of disasters. So that's why gradually the terminologies are also changing. For example, we used to use the term mere coping. So from coping, we are moving to adaptation. Now we are focusing on resilience. So what are the growing concerns about the resilience? Why should the people who are facing challenges of disaster should be like resilient? So disaster risk reduction are not often gender neutral, that's what we know. And specifically, we see women mostly from the vulnerable context, not from the resilient context. So in there were two consecutive floods in Bangladesh, 1988 and 1987, and that has attracted international attention. Then we had one cyclone in 1991 that
I think we've lost sound, Mahbuba. Okay, I think you might have frozen, unfortunately. It's frustrating, isn't it? Okay, I think we're going to have to pause this then. I'll stop the recording for now because it doesn't seem to be working. Yeah. So she's gone out. So I'll stop the recording. So apologies for that. I think she must be having technical issues, which hence the delay in coming in. You're still here with us. You're back with us.
I'm not sure, I'm changing then devices, but still happening. So sorry for this interruption.
No problem.
I will share screen again and I'll go from that slide.
Okay, great.
Disaster. That is also a debatable issue, whether we should term pandemic or coronavirus, because you just had a wonderful presentations from both of you in as a corona story, and I had the opportunity to listen to that corona story. And if this has been done in UK, but what is happening to country like where there is a disaster? For example, there are definitions in the debate that what is the definition of disaster? If we understand the definition of disaster, then where the relatively and sudden phenomena which causes threats to lives and properties, in fact, and go beyond the capacities of the people. So pandemic also triggering risk and shocks, and also they are just, we have to change the existing social structural system over which the system had no control, even families, communities, and others. So also pandemic is also, there are indicators for risk and disaster, like while people are facing frequently disasters during a pandemic situation, what we have to do. So COVID-19 also having some, from Bangladesh context, we have seen that multi-hazard, multi-risk and emergency management activities, specifically while we had a disaster, we had a flood, in fact, during the pandemic situation, and how to change the paradigm. We had to shift the paradigm. We had to manage the shelters and also social distancing in a disaster situation. So that's why they are very closely related to each other. And like I already mentioned, I have in the humanitarian encyclopedia, I have a definition that I'll share you the link later on, that the resilience, how to build resilience. So if it is, resilience is a process, it's not an outcome. But we have to think that I already discussed about the, from vulnerability perspectives, resilience for what and for whom, resilience to what and to whom, resilience of what and whom. And here comes the question of intersectionality. And why should we say that women are not like vulnerable? They are also silent forces of resilience. That from my research, we find that while men do not have any income, while even women do not have any income, based on their experiences, their lifelong experiences, the basic needs are met by household level, at household level. Like women are drawing up on their own store. This is their usual practice. They will save handful of rice. They will procure food. They have knowledge. They will draw upon their own assets. For example, I find a case study where a nose pin was the only resource of a woman, of a married woman. So she doesn't want to sell the cow because that is the productive resource. But the nose pin has an emotional value, because a married woman, specifically, this is a belief in the rural areas, a married woman should not take out the nose pin from her nose when husband is alive. So that one has been sold in only 80 taka, like you can convert it. So that's what they have done. They had to adjust consumption pattern. They know that they have the indigenous knowledge practices, draw upon their common resources. And usually women in the South Asian, I'm not sure about other, men and women both, they serve children first, then they eat less. So this, the gender assigned work for women, under any circumstance they have to bring water. And that's why I'm saying that why they should be, that these are not the mere coping, these are the resilience mechanism that they draw from their perspective, like experiences. Now we are coming to the question, like the matter of intersectionality. And in the Kimberly Crenshaw, she has started in USA. So specifically, we are taking from there to build gender sensitive strategies and initiatives in the disaster management processes. And intersectionality is not only women and men, it's also transgender issues, other factors, age, like elderly people will be included, ability, disability, ethnicity, and individual identities even. So that's will be dealing on people's in needs, interests, capacities, and experiences based on that. So that is helpful if we would like to say that inclusive society or leaving no one behind, as sustainable development says, we have to use the intersectional lens to build any policy formulation. So there are, I'm not saying all of these. So this is a lot of theories that has been started since early 90s, and the UCLA professor, she has started over the years that own work. She started from lower caste women. So, but we started in Bangladesh context, we have started many risk reduction initiatives using the intersectional lens, that persons with disability. Then the housing that has been given by government. Recently, we visited there immediate after the COVID or 19, that how resilient, how intersectional lens was used for this kind of house. Like if you see there is no ramp, so how these persons will be there. So this kind of intersectional lens we have to use when we are devising policies and other issues. So this is the example of the project that we are running, and I am leading the regional. So GRIP is a gender responsive resilience and intersectionality and policy and practice. I will just little bit highlighting this. So this GRIP is focusing in the South Asian region. We are focusing different projects, and these projects have been completed, and we have got many interesting ideas. Specifically, the curriculum on intersectionality, disaster risk reduction, humanitarian response, and intersectionality. So group of academicians developing for South Asia, so that will be shared within the other regions also. So the policies, what we would like to, so there are 7 projects I have not mentioned, like awarded 7, and in Bangladesh 3, development of curriculum, then towards human rights and its violation expulsion, and another one is utilization of maternal health care services during COVID-19 pandemic, so in disaster prone areas. So these 3 are Bangladesh perspective. And Nepal is running 2, gender disability and pandemic, understanding intersectional effects on health and well-being of women with disabilities, and the role of local government. So it's taking one category of people, and as well as women, and also the government policy making scenario they are looking after. So Nepal is one project. India, we are having 2 projects infusing gender consciousness in disaster pedagogies. So it is also curriculum related, because this is gender audit in the review towards developing intersectional disaster management in curriculum. So, and another one is reimagining the world of women's work in post-crisis, like post-COVID crisis situation. And Sri Lanka, that project is enhancing public sector accountability and transparency for gender inclusion in response to natural hazard-induced disasters and the COVID-19 pandemic. So these projects are immediate after the COVID. So before COVID, it was supposed to be started, but as these has had to be started immediate after the COVID, so we are getting some COVID-19 parameters as well. So this is my last, that why we should focus gender and intersectionality, how to redress the gender related mechanisms, incorporating using the intersectional lens. So gender identifying only women and men, but we would like to go beyond. There are, all women are not similar, all men are not similar. So category wise, there are even differences within the gender based categories. So this would like to be here. We would like to see focus on more. So health disaster interfacing, that is very required, because in the post-COVID situation, we find this is one of the issue, like economy is very much related with the health factors, and all the socioeconomic aspects we are adding to pandemic and gender relation according to different groups and categories, not only men, women categories, but that other categories, and coordinated efforts of vital ministries, because we know that intersectional policy and programs in addressing pandemic and gender, we do not find that there are coordination. Like health ministry had to be linked with disaster management, again women and children affairs, social affairs ministry. So there are different names in different South Asian ministries. So these are the some of the references that I have used. And if you have any queries, I would like to respond to that. Thank you so much. I just had to be very fast, and I don't know whether you understood. Thank you so much.